Hello everyone, my name is Tom, and welcome back to one of these, whatever I'm going to call them. And if you are unaware, I have another channel called Suckmo Mail that I've been kind of treating as my main channel as far as like high effort edited videos go. As you can see, I've made quite a few videos over there with, only 160 subscribers because I don't really try too hard to advertise it aside from my social media, but the videos have been doing pretty well considering. And the most popular video, as you can see, is about a guy who's been in the news quite a bit, Kanye West. The reason why I initially made that video 5 months ago is kind of along the lines of why Kanye West is in the news recently. It's because I grew up idolizing Kanye West throughout my teen years. He was a major inspiration for me. I didn't know how to dress before I listened to Kanye West. I did not have the confidence I would have after I listened to Kanye West prior. And I kind of wanted to give the roses that were well deserved for that time, and also levy some criticism against Kanye West at that time for some of the anti-black things that he was saying. Really just insensitive things for the most part. He hadn't really gone on the explicitly anti-black aside from the whole slavery was a choice thing, which was okay, yeah, that was pretty explicitly anti-black. And the more Kanye's name has come up, the more I've kind of asked myself, like, how well did that video age and how well will it age? And so far, I rewatched it a couple days ago, and I honestly feel like it ages pretty well, especially since I kind of avoided one of the primary criticisms that people have been making now, where, wow, okay, now Kanye is being anti-Semitic, where was this energy when he was being anti-black? And I feel like my energy hasn't changed. I of course understand why people are taking things a little bit more seriously now that he is being anti-Semitic, because if you know anything about white supremacy, or at least if you know anything about white supremacist spaces, usually once they cross over into anti-Semitism, that's like when you're deep in the weeds. That's when you're going down the rabbit holes. It's when, because there's plenty of anti-blackness in America. Racism against black people has become so normalized that, like, it's not that deep cut to be saying the things that Kanye was saying. But once people start saying that Jews control the world, stuff like that, that's when you're like, okay, you're deep in that. You're lost in the sauce. So I can understand from that point of view why people are taking it more seriously now, especially to the point where people on the right are even saying, like, Kanye, you gotta calm down. But there's also legitimacy to the fact that people were like, yo, like, there's anti-blackness there already. Why was nobody taking it seriously, or as seriously then as they are now? And I at least have the documentation there that, yeah, I was taking it seriously, and that was kind of the point where I was like, you know what, I can recognize everything Kanye West has done in his career. I can recognize the impact he had on me, he had on my peers, he had on people who were older than me, younger than me, and I can still acknowledge, like, this is not okay. Like, I can't be streaming his music, I can't be supporting him financially. The only thing that I think didn't age that well was basically saying, like, criticizing Kanye West right now when he's down is not going to be constructive, but at this point, he has pushed things so far where you kind of have to criticize him. Of course, I do still feel as though a lot of the things I said about him being attacked by the media repeatedly for pretty mild statements kind of created this thing in his head where he feels as though anything he does is going to be wrong. So might as well just lean in and say the most hateful, problematic things possible. And I think that that is genuinely like a thing in his brain, aside from his very legitimate mental illnesses, that he has made his choices as a grown adult not to get taken care of. I do think that that is a factor, and also the fact that he has people like Nick Fuentes in his ear. Nick Fuentes is just an out and about white supremacist. He is a self-identified Nazi. He is ultimately a loser kid, but, like, he is also a textbook definition Nazi. Of course, we're not going to get into the difference between a Nazi versus a neo-Nazi. It's all, adding neo doesn't make it better. So I definitely think that Kanye is just being kind of taken advantage of. Doesn't make anything he's saying okay, but it's like, he's getting played. He's the fool in this situation where he is just being utilized for his voice, for his impact, for his platform, to basically be a puppet for the alt-right, for white supremacists, for people like Nick Fuentes, who, despite being such a pathetic human being that ultimately it's hard to imagine that he would ever actually make much headway other than in situations like this, he does advocate for some pretty, I'm not gonna say pretty, he advocates for outright abhorrent things. Says ridiculously insane and dangerous things. So that is one part of the Kanye West video that if I did have to go back and do it differently, I would say, you know what, saying that, you know, maybe be a little bit empathetic and understanding at this point. I'm sorry, bro, you're an adult. You're 45 years old. You can make decisions for yourself. You don't need me, someone who is 20 years your junior, looking out for you and being like, come on guys, let's be empathetic. That you've made your bed. It's a little too far now. But overall, I do feel like the sentiment of me saying that, yeah, this was a guy who I looked up to. This was a guy who was really important to me in my formative years, and now that's kind of a complicated thing to grapple with, and he's definitely done everything in his power to erode his legacy, even as it is set in stone. I think that part of the video, I think that aged well. I still stand by that. The only thing is, the call to empathy at the end, I feel is partly still kind of legitimate. I do think that you should still try and see empathy in every situation, no matter what action you decide to take, but in this case, I think the action should be maybe deplatforming. I mean, actually, I think that has always been the correct answer, because Kanye West, really, his platform has been the bane of his existence for the last 5 or 6 years. So anyways, my name is Sam, and that's all I gotta say.